Okay, I should be live. Um, this was, I'm actually really excited about this. I have tried, and my subscribers and some people that have hung out with my show for a while will know that I've tried for years on many occasions to get a group of people together who were somewhat serious minded about an experimentation, a dream experiment where we would attempt to have the same dream. And whether I'm not sure what that means really, but ultimately, we just figure that we would, uh, among ourselves, we would agree upon like a particular location. Initially, I was thinking something that would be like well known. And I'm kind of glad that Influence came up with the suggestion that she did, which is meeting on an iceberg, which is sort of yeah, that was her idea. The location was her idea. I was going to say something like the Eiffel Tower or the observation deck of the Empire State Building, or maybe at the base of the Sphinx, or something, major landmark. Um, but I really kind of like the idea of like a random iceberg, right? Because it's not something that really particularly stands out in anybody's mind, and it's not like a major tourist destination. It's not something that any of us have spent a lot of time thinking about, and 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 it's not somewhere in particular that anybody could go specifically. You can't go, and I mean, you can Google your random iceberg, but it, we couldn't necessarily get a specific location because naming just a random iceberg is far more general than like a really specific landmark. So I just like the idea that it's so random and generalized and specific, unspecific like that.
California, and I actually sat on a bear when I was 5, 6 years old and fed one a Tootsie Roll. So now I know that that's bad. I know that that's bad because, you know, it means that they probably did bad things to the bear, but I didn't understand that when I was younger, right? And my mom, as crazy as she is, like when we went up to the Montana Glacier Park, her whole thing was she was trying to find a damn bear. Now maybe with her she was trying to find it to eat me. I don't know. But anyway, ultimately, I have this deep appreciation for the bear. So when Celery kept saying, "Oh, the polar bear," and I not kept saying, but when he said that the bear would come, I was like, no, it'll never get me. But then I end up dreaming about this grizzly bear coming after me, and there's no way the grizzly was going to catch me, and I outran the grizzly. So then a couple nights passed, you know, we're all talking in the thing, and I'm not having any success with the iceberg. So I end up watching a new TV show that's based on an old movie about them trying to steal the children's stuff. It's like a dark matter sphere TV show or something. And anyways, there's this whole scene that I went to sleep to the other night where they have to go and get a warrior bear to help them up north, right? So they're going to go up where it's cold in the north, and they got to go get this warrior bear, and it happens to be a polar bear. And so this is what I fall asleep to. So in the dream, I am now on the iceberg, but I'm snuggling the polar bear. And that's why I said, oh yeah, me and the polar bear chilling. So I did make it to the iceberg. The polar bears did not get me. Celery affected a couple of dreams, and ultimately I got there. So yeah, I mean, I've been working on dreaming for months now. Dreaming with intent, and I can't say that I've seen a spike in I guess it was the vividness of my dreams within the last week. Like, I don't know if it's like knowing that other people have the same intent as me or whatever, but you know, I think it's really awesome when a group of people can align an intent and put it into something like this. So I know it's going to take some time. Like, I would even suspect that this could go on for years, and I would be happy with that. I expect that it's going to take some time for us to get, you know, really clear, concise results. But I can already tell, like, just having, and you know, just having like people out there with this that share the intent, like, makes it so much easier almost. Like, there's an expectation, you know, like that you share with other people. There's the idea of like coming together and sharing the things you've experienced that gives you a little bit more oomph, you know, because you get like when you're doing it on your own, you can kind of like slack a little bit. Right. But having this actual forum where other people, and it's a small forum, and I like that. If other people want to join, that's fine. But I'd like to keep it pretty close knit, so that it's not chaotic. Just to have like 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, like a small group of people that get along well and can share these experiences together without ego, without like trying to one up one another, like things like that. Because I think that can also happen in environments like this. So I love all you guys, and I'm excited because I know that you all have, you know, that same ambition for this. So I was stoked when Ruth had suggested it. It's gonna be good.
basically, I think the intent is we've all been focusing on having the iceberg in mind in each other in this place. And for me, I've seen the iceberg. The best I've done overall is I've seen an iceberg, and I usually am hanging up on the fucking like of it, and I can look around like, this is the greatest place to meet people that are from up here. But I did, and that's normally what I see. But the place where I saw silhouettes of people, so to speak, is one of them's kind of a flat place. And I think that's kind of where everybody's seeing it. I don't know. What do you think, Rufus? Where are you at? Right?
Where am I at? I'm still trying to get to the iceberg. Now, I had last night a pretty chaotic dream where and I mentioned this in our little chat. And by the way, I really like what Aaron said, that we kind of keep it close knit, but at the same time, I would like to see at least a few other people that I know, especially people that are specifically serious on this experiment, because I don't.
Imagine an iceberg and seeing how what you've seen. So as we go forward with this, if she has any input on it, she's on both sides.
Hey, Josh, can I'm so sorry to like sidetrack or derail the conversation, but Josh, can you help me for just a second? I want to share my screen or something, because I'm getting messages from my people that my sound is terrible. And when I check my OBS, I've got like no input on my desktop audio. I've only got one input bar, and which is my mic auxiliary. And there, well, I opened up advanced settings, advanced audio properties, and I've got like nothing coming in. I've got no signal coming in. Desktop. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll share. I'm so sorry to derail this. Maybe you could help me. And if we can't solve this like real fast, then it'll just have to be tough shit. Share screen, and you can help me out, and I'll show you what I have here. I ought to be sharing, and let me see. I'm in the advanced audio. See, my desktop audio has got like nothing coming in. I've only. And I'm in the advanced settings. It says monitor off. I don't know what that stuff. Well, I don't. It probably. I think it should be desktop or. Speakers, Logitech headphone. I guess it's on default. If I choose the Logitech, unsaved changes, and it's not getting any signal. Yeah. So, no, that's mic auxiliary, but it's like, I don't know why, but this desktop audio one, I don't know why I used to get a signal on this particular channel right here. It's probably been several days. All right. Well, I hate to have to stop and shut down. I hate to have to stop and shut down in the middle of everything.
Well, like you said, if you can't worry about it,
oh look, there it is. Oh shit.
Hey, there it is.
There you go.
Hey,
yeah.
Now I got desktop audio.
Yeah,
all I had to do was
you just needed to tinker with it for it to kick back in.
put it back. Let me ask
You're
my.
good.
All right. right.
All right. Does that sound better, you guys? Just checking my people here. Got it.
Got it.
Yeah,
Cool.
and
Citizen.
everybody on my side, we are multi-streaming between Rufus' channel and my own. So, a little bit of technical difficulties. No worries, though.
So yeah, got it. Getting better. Zoroaster says I'm getting better. Okay. Sounds like my audio is good. You guys let me know if if there's any more issues, and we'll do what we can. Much better, Amy says. Thank you, guys. All
Okay,
right.
so I want to. So, Aaron, you made it to the iceberg in your dreams, right? As far as I understand it.
I mean, yeah, I've actually had I've seen like 3 different places, honestly.
Okay.
One of them appears to be like a frozen lake almost, and it was honestly my very first interpretation of iceberg. And I think it's because I don't know why I thought of the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. If you've seen that movie, there's a scene where they go out to Lake Montauk and it's frozen and they lay on it. And there's like a big fault in it. So that was the first place that something similar is what I saw. And then I saw like just a big open area. It almost looked like it maybe didn't have an end. It was just like an endless frozen land. And then the other one was like a small island with a lot of icy spires. So I've seen a couple of different places. The one with spires is where I saw what looked like a figure that could be Josh, and the other place, the big wide open kind of endless iceberg, is where I had some images of what could be you and Rufus.
Now, actually, to jump into that, Erin called out a couple of things, and for one was she, call out those specific details that you made in the side chat there, Erin.
Um,
You run that.
oh, like what I saw for everybody?
Yeah, like what you saw and what you thought, like break down the details.
Okay.
And first, and I guess I'll jump in and say my iceberg experience has been, I've had one dream of an iceberg, where I was actually dreaming. The others have been before I'm going to sleep, and it's almost like remote viewing. Every time I've seen it, it has been kind of not anywhere to stand, out in the middle of nowhere, this icy spire and kind of a darkness all around, like you're standing out in the middle of the ocean, cold area, and I'm hanging on to this thing. And I haven't, other than in a dream. The dream, however, was a little more flat, and I saw silhouettes of figures. I couldn't say who was who. It was just silhouettes. So that's kind of my quick thing. But yeah, Aaron, you say what you've seen.
And I mean, I have to put a little disclaimer on it and say that most of my experience with these things they haven't been what I would say is traditional dreaming. It feels more like I'm in a deep meditative trance state where I'm like, it's that place you catch yourself before sleep.
So it's like, and because we haven't talked about this much, so it's like kind of like what I've been talking about as far as this, body asleep, mind awake kind of state, like where your body's most motionless, and yet your mind, you're seeing something.
Yeah, it's like you're asleep, but when you like before you go. I'm sure you guys in your lucid dreams have maybe potentially experienced where you get to that lip or that edge where you're about to fall into sleep, and you may even feel like that vibrating lurch that your body gets, like if you catch yourself doing it and you come back awake. Well, if you roll over into that, but you maintain some consciousness, like you maintain a level of awareness, that's the state I'm talking about. And I know it's weird and funky and hard to explain. It's a lot easier to understand and categorize if you do any work with like the Monroe stuff, like the Hemisync and all that. Like that kind of like breaks it down for you and it makes it easier to get there. But that's where most of the iceberg experiences that I've had have come, and I've seen what appears to be Josh. We've been talking. We're about to join a rock climbing gym, and we've been talking a lot about rock climbing. And I imagined, and I saw Josh up on this kind of spiry like, or a sickle, on this island iceberg. And he's in this really awkward, like kind of climbing position, like you would imagine somebody like clinging to a wall when they're rock climbing. And he's trying to act really chill about it, but he's terrified. That's
Right?
that's the image I got of Josh. Now the interesting thing is I didn't see Josh where I saw what looked like you guys. And it was on a different night. When I saw you guys, or what I believe to be, I mean, Rufus, I'm pretty sure I saw Rufus influence. I hope it's you. I mean, I don't know what you look like.
Yeah, and for the
but-
record, Aaron has never seen a picture of influence.
No.
Oh, you've
And,
never
and we
seen
haven't
me?
and
Oh,
we
okay.
haven't talked about this, so it's kind of like I'm curious to see.
He
Well, I
said
don't
that-
look anything like my avatar, that I can tell you.
I know what influence looks like, and so I'm just kind of like, and I haven't given Aaron anything. I said ask
Okay.
you. I said
Okay.
ask you. So this is awesome. Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, for Rufus, I saw that all I saw with Rufus is that he looked like he was kind of like looking back over his shoulder, disoriented, and I got red. I got red. And then like he was wearing something like maybe even like a hoodie, and it was red. And then for you, influence, this is actually kind of weird how I saw you. You were actually like reaching out to me, and you reached out to me, and then you curled your arms back against your chest, and then it was kind of like a flip between both of those images. And you had your hair looked like a faded blonde color, like maybe like a I don't really know, like not bright blonde, but like an ashen blonde, maybe. You had glasses on, and they looked maybe like they had like um, a silver or gold tint to the rim. It was gold, a gold tint to the rim.
Okay.
And you were wearing like a tan shirt. And your eyes, they kind of like, I thought you were wearing blue eyeshadow, but it was like kind of it wasn't really distinct. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it was your eye color or what that was flashing through there. That wasn't very distinct, but that's what and you had your hair pulled back away from your face. And you had like some wisps around your face. That's what I saw. And you were like going between reaching out to me and curling your arms back against your chest.
Okay, so I do have gray, ashen brown, blonde hair because of the gray. And I do wear gold framed
Holy shit.
glasses.
Holy
And I
shit.
do wear my hair back a lot with a lot of wisps
Oh my
hanging down.
god.
And I have green eyes.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, I didn't give Aaron, like, I know what you look like, but I was like, I'm gonna wait. And it's like just the experiment, you know.
My
like-
heart's pounding like so fast right now. Holy shit.
Well, you
That's
kind
crazy.
you kind of got me right as a little bit because, and I'm sorry, Aaron, I forgot that you had mentioned this earlier in the Hangout side chat as we've been keep monitoring the experiment.
Mhm.
You did mention that you saw me in red, and I even responded. And I totally forgot all about that.
Yeah.
I do, like right now in the wintertime. I wear like a red overshirt. It's an LLB long sleeve button up shirt.
What the fuck?
And it's something that it's like I'm looking right at it. It's just laying on the arm of the couch. It's something that I wear all the time, especially when the weather is chilly. So yeah, I mean, there's another at least small hit on that one.
That's wild. That's like exciting to me. You guys have no idea.
Yeah, now I was not able to pull you guys in And then when I was dealing with specific people, like on the iceberg, I didn't have any people. It was literally me and this polar bear. And I just know that it's because of what Celery was saying, and then me watching this scene with this polar bear in the TV show. And I thought, oh, this will be perfect. Maybe I'll get to the iceberg. But I was in full dream state when I did get to the iceberg.
Yeah, dream state is weird. And now
Yeah.
I'd like to add just a tad bit.
Hey Josh, can you turn your microphone up a little bit? Because like the ladies are loud, and everybody in my chat is telling me that
Okay,
they can't hear you.
that's probably better. I had it. We've been
Yeah, there
working
you
on
go.
music, so we've got it down a little bit for that. But I've basically I've been working with Monroe's techniques of trying to have out of body experiences, and I have not. Um, I had a couple dreams the first few nights, and the past 2 nights I've had nothing. And a lot of my dreams have been so abstract and weird, and about things that are strange that make no sense that they're not even worth mentioning here. The only experiences I've had with icebergs are, like I said, being in a remote viewing kind of state where your body's totally asleep. I'm going to bed. I'm kind of in that threshold, and I see it, and it's like I realize I'm at this place, but then I realize I'm back at my body, and it's like this snap too. Um, but the biggest experience I've had from all of this is a couple nights ago. I was laying in bed, and I had been really working on this. I've been reading a lot too, and I felt like, and I was in a dream, lucid, and I was trying to go there, but it didn't. It was just I'm in laying in this cold, dark spot, laying down, and all of a sudden I feel like a pressure come upon me. I don't know how to explain it, and I'm like being sucked through this vortex, and it really, the best way I explained it to Aaron is kind of like you're drunk and you got the spins and you put your foot down on the floor to kind of hold it together. Except I gave into it and I just let it go, and it happened 4 or 5 times, and I would be zipped out back in, and I knew I was dreaming, but that's the most actualized anything experience I've had yet, and we've been doing this a week, so that's kind of where
Well,
I'm.
really quick, I just want to share my screen with Aaron real fast.
Go ahead.
And it's okay that this goes over the net. I don't care.
All right.
Uh, can you see my screen, Aaron?
Yes.
Okay, so that's me.
Oh my fucking god. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I need like a cigarette. I feel like, no, for real, like I'm gonna cry. Like that's overwhelming to have like that. I saw you like that's wild.
Yeah,
Sorry
and
guys.
she described you to me, and I was like, "You're just gonna have to ask her." 'Cause I knew this was like she got you, and I was like, "Damn,
Holy shit.
yeah, that's pretty intense."
Thank you for showing me that.
Yeah. That's me and my gold glasses.
That is wild.
Yeah,
I cannot believe that. That's crazy. Well, I had another. I mean, I shared it on a previous show. Like
I'll be
I've
right back.
been
I gotta use the restroom.
okay. I've had a lot of interesting experience with. I don't really know what to call it. I want to call it remote viewing because that's what I feel like probably fits into it most. But it's like it also has to do with dreaming, like because I have to get into that sleep state. And I shared it. I don't know if you guys were around for that, but I basically had the experience with my little sister as well. Like, were you on that show Influence when I shared that?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I remember.
Well, it was just another weird incident where Josh, I was having trouble with this, and Josh was like, think about someone you want to go see. Like, think about seeing, who do you want to go see? And I haven't seen my little sister in a really long time. I've never been to her home. She's married and has like 4 kids, and I've never seen half of them. So like I wanted to go see her, and I had this just really succinct image of standing in the corner of a bedroom. It was late at night. There's a bed full of bodies. It looks like a big heap, under a blanket, a TV on and a blue light, and a digital clock that read like 12:07. And I texted her the next day and freaked her the hell out because I was like, "How many people were in your bed last night? Were you watching TV at 12:07?" Like, asked her all
Right.
these weird questions, and like she freaked out. And she was sending me pictures of her bedroom, and she was like, "All the kids were in bed with me and Tony last night. We totally had a movie on in the bed at that time. I think we were all asleep, but the TV was on because a movie was playing." And weirdly, she sent me a picture of her room, and it all looked the way I saw it, at least like shape wise, because there weren't a lot of distinctive things that I saw.
Right.
But as far as like shapes, everything was where it should have been. But she sent me a picture of the digital clock at that time during the afternoon that day, and it read 12:07 in the picture she sent me.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what that's fucking crazy.
Well, and that's why it's cool to try to do this, because there
Right.
can be an interconnectedness, because I've had so many real proofs of interconnectedness in dreams, like just stupid stuff where I said to my husband one day, I said, "Oh, Claire, for some reason in my dream, said a Swedish girl named Olga." And then that very night, like literally within an hour, I went over to Claire's, and then she just randomly said, "Oh, some Swedish girl named Olga." And I said, "Oh my God, you got to call my husband right now and ask him what I said before I walked out the door." And he told her, and her mouth dropped. She was like, "What?" Or I had this dream where my boyfriend came to rescue me. I was in juvie. In reality, I was in juvie. And this was before they were going to send me out of the state. And my boyfriend in real life, drove a Mercedes Benz. So in my dream, he drove through the big window thing, and he rescued me in the Mercedes Benz, right? So then we were out in our lineup for the morning head count that they do, and we were outside. And there was a new staff member, and she was way down at the end of the line. And all of a sudden, I got this urge to tell the girl next to me that the lady was going to come up and call me Mercedes. And it was triggered because of this dream. And I said, she's going to say that she's going to call me by the name Mercedes. And then she's going to say it's because she cannot pronounce my last name. So we're just waiting, and she's going through, and she finally gets down to us, and she goes, "Mercedes." She goes, "I'm just going to call you Mercedes because I can't pronounce your last name."
That's fucking wild.
And the girl next to me goes, "How the fuck did you know that?" But it was all triggered from the dream.
Right.
And I knew I was supposed to tell the girl next to me.
And now, one of the things I thought about just a second ago, from just, I haven't asked you guys this, but when you remember these dream states or these other things, to me, I just want to see if this connects. It's like it's coming from another place. It's not a normal place you remember things from. It's in like
Well,
a
I think it
segmented part of your memory.
depends. I think it depends, because in some cases, okay, like when we very first started doing this, right, which was what, a week ago,
About, yeah.
I ended up, and I was in my dream, I was in La Crescenta, California, and that would be normal for me because this is one of the places I lived as a kid. And so, but in the dream, I went into this building, and everything inside, it was all vivid, like all these artifacts and knickknacks, and it was just full of all this stuff. And I said to myself, this is really weird because you're not the one drawing in this part of your dream. And I had this distinct feeling that in this specific situation, at this moment in the dream, I consciously told myself, you're not the one drawing all this in.
Hmm.
So sometimes I feel like it is another thing happening where it's not me. And then there's other times where I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is me because we had this conversation and because this was going on and I was focused on this. So I know that, I contributed all this. But then there's other times where I'm like, you're not the contributor here. Something else is filling this all in for you.
Hmm.
And I'm conscious of it.
Yeah, and just I talked to my good friend who is far advanced beyond me in these topics about that similar thing that you brought up, and basically what he said is that's ridiculous. It is absolutely you. You're just not seeing the full scope of yourself. That there are things outside of ourselves, but that we place ourselves upon other things to give them personality, and we make it what it's not in that way. Because we're kind of what it comes down to, from what I've understood, is that we are all connected to everything. People say stupid shit like, I am infinite consciousness. And I hear that shit. Even an old friend of mine says that shit, and he doesn't know what it means. But it's truth. We are all in infinite consciousness. We're all interconnected, and we're kind of already like the Borg mind from Star Trek. This one collective consciousness. And I think that is what we're connecting into, is this collective consciousness of ourselves. It's, although it doesn't feel like us, we're all connected to it, so it kind of is.
Actually, it's Star Trek.
So real quick, I changed an audio setting on my end. I just want to ask my people if they can hear my voice, and they also said that Zoroaster said that Josh, your audio is gone, and I'm wondering if he means gone completely or not. But I mean, Josh
Oh,
did.
I was gone for a while. Yeah.
No, I mean, like just 2 seconds ago, he said Josh is gone again. Audio is gone
Strange.
again. So
Weird.
I don't know. It's probably all
I
me.
hear. Well, I don't know. I'm not listening to the streams.
And see,
So
but the thing is, like, you're capturing the stream, so if you can hear me, they should be able to hear me based on just if you're picking up desktop audio.
yeah.
The same way that everybody can hear you guys. I've kind of left my settings alone. I've got them set. I don't mess with them. Like,
See, I don't know that it is us.
I didn't for a long time. I didn't,
Because
and I still question it. Don't get me wrong, I question.
it's just like, why would I know that Claire's gonna say a Swedish girl named Olga out of the blue? And it's her that said it, not me. And
What?
yet she specifically was entering to me literally from my dream at night, that day when I told my husband, but then I'm meeting with her. Of course, it's within a 24-hour time frame, but the thing is that was her. That's her thing, and it was her in the dream.
Okay, yeah. Now,
And I recognize, like, I know that I have a lot of abilities in my dreams and talents, and that there's certain things that I definitely will partake in. But it's only because I've studied my dreams in depth for years. Like, I have dream journals from years ago, and I took the time. Like, you notice how when I was writing my dreams in the thing, I would document and I would put reality and then I would put
Yes.
dream.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is exactly how I always did my dream journals. And I would know events like when when Fran and Eddie, I had a dream that Eddie fell out of the sky and he broke his ribs and his bones and stuff. And then that day, I went to the drop zone and I'm like, fuck, shit happened with Eddie. But what ended up happening was Eddie and Fran ended up crewing together, and when Eddie let go of Fran's lines, Fran dropped right out of the air and crashed to the ground and broke his ribs and everything. So there is certain connectedness, and this is why I do try to pay attention and believe in sharing the dreams, because I've had so many experiences that are just very concrete. But then I really do know when it's not me.
Sure. Now, this is where I kind of get into it. That's weird. Think about different levels of dimensions, because we do exist, and if you want to use the representation of time as the fourth dimension, that could work. I don't think that's what the fourth dimension is, but you can express it that way. It's a cross section of it. So maybe in that sense, you're picking up on because how I'm kind of
Picking
starting to
up
see
on
is that
something for sure.
time doesn't exist. Like time is an illusion. It is all happening within itself all right now. Now our idea of time is it's limited to our lives, and that's something in Rufus's comment section. Somebody said, how would it work in different time zones? And something that I really think could happen is that it's not limited like that. Like you could have a dream about something or see somebody and they might not be asleep at that time, but that state of consciousness isn't quartered to that locale of existence. Like we're tapping into a different place within ourselves. And you're right, it's not always you're tapping into the all, the everything. And I don't have a good explanation for that, but I get what you're saying. It's not always just you. You're tapping into things that are going to happen around you.
I think a good way to look at it is like to think that, like, you look at someone like Edgar Casey, who could fall asleep and pull an answer out of oblivion, or go into a trance and do the same thing. It's like you are not the all, and yet you are,
It's a
because
part
you're
of
a part
you.
of it.
Yeah, you're a part
You're
of
a
it. It's a
part of
part of
it,
you.
and yeah, like I think that's the only explainable way that I can understand it, is that you're a part of it. You're not all of it, but it is you.
That
Does
reminds
that make sense?
that reminds me of I'm not that familiar with Spinoza. I don't know if you guys ever read Spinoza,
I have not read Spinoza.
but I was listening to an interview just the other day from Jeffrey Mishlove. He's a psychologist / parapsychologist. He interviews people on all kinds of stuff on these topics. He was interviewing this old man who wrote this book on Spinoza and his version, his philosophy on God and religion, and how you should view yourself. And the way he described it was more of a top down, and I'll just do my very best to paraphrase what I heard from this conversation. It's more of a top down approach that I think he described it like, think of the human body has all these cells. Um, you are more than the 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 complete group of cells, right? You're more than just a bunch of cells. But oh God, I'm struggling here. How it, I really I wish I could. I probably should have just listened to it again before I try to paraphrase this. I'm doing just such a terrible job. Um, the way he compared it, the way Spinoza looks at it, religion and God and your connection to the universe and all that, is that since you are part of the universe, that you literally are the universe. That it's not a bottom up. God, I'm doing such a bad job.
It's tricky.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what? Let me just think about that for another minute
All
before
right,
I
well,
put my
Aaron,
foot in my mouth.
would you look up Monroe's affirmation, because it very much sounds like what he's saying? Um, and is that cool with you, Aaron?
Yeah.
All right. Well, and while she's doing that, neither one of y'all are very much familiar with Robert Monroe, correct?
Robert Monroe.
Yeah, Robert Monroe.
Am I familiar with
Yeah,
Robert
you
Monroe?
and
What
Rufus.
is
You
what
you
does
and Rufus.
Robert Monroe write about?
Out of
Out
body
of body
experience.
experience.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Just so you know, like Jenny asked me today in a hangout about if I ever read dream interpretations, and I say absolutely not.
Yeah.
I refuse to read anything by anybody when it comes to that stuff because that's their walk.
Well, now the difference with
so
Robert Monroe is it
I
goes
just haven't.
different.
Well, I'm just letting you know that's one of the reasons that I don't read
Yeah.
any of
And
that
I
kind of
understand
stuff.
that. You don't want to be twisted up from other people's bullshit, basically.
Yeah, I don't want to walk their
Um,
walk because all my dreams and my out of body experiences are in relation to my life and my knowing. And I like the fact that we're trying to do this. Like we're
Yeah,
trying to
absolutely.
share in an experience, but I don't want anybody else's hangups on my
Well, now
in
I'd
my
like
You
to
don't want
add
someone else's
about
like subjective
Mon-
interpretation, right?
well, now the
yeah, because
difference
it's
I'd
my
say with
walk.
Monroe is he worked on not necessarily like what it all means, but how to do it. And
Yeah, he
that's
was really like a brass tacks kind of guy. Like he
yeah,
wasn't a
he wasn't
mystical. He wasn't
he
a
wasn't
mystic.
telling you what it meant in any way. He was just
Okay.
saying like
Yeah.
here's if you want to have an out of body experience, this is what you do. We had experiments with our groups. He wrote down logs. He's got 60,000 logs of people through his experimentation, and he was a very pragmatic guy. And that I definitely recommend his works. I'm about halfway through his works. He's got a trilogy, and I'm a book and a half deep in this trilogy, and he doesn't tell you what to think. He just says like, this is what I've done, and this is what
Right.
I've seen works, and it might not work for you, but this is what I've done. And the hemisync, the binaural beats, that literally that is his patent originally. Project Stargate, Men Who Stare at Goats, that is Robert Monroe.
Oh, okay. All right,
He
I gotcha.
developed remote viewing. He is the one that kind of got it all rolling as a topic. And that's why I mention him a lot, is because Aaron and I both have kind of dug into that aspect of it. And again, he doesn't tell you what to think, but did you find his affirmation,
Yeah.
Aaron? Go ahead and read it, because I think it ties in with what Rufus was saying.
Okay. And to preface it, like he uses this when he does like his guided meditations with hemisync and stuff like that. This is something he asks you when you're,
And he's
getting
dead,
into
by
that.
the way.
Yeah,
Is dead.
he's long dead. But he did the talking through a lot of the meditations that are still out there. I've actually got the Gateway one. If you guys are interested, it's a ton of little experiments you can do. But anyway, he would basically read the affirmation and ask you to kind of repeat it to yourself as he read it to you, and it really
And one more thing to add, and to ask you to put all your holdups in a safety deposit box.
yeah.
Everything that bothers you, just put it away.
So he says, I am more than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter, I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. Therefore, I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. Also, I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom development, and experience are equal or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
How beautiful.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yep.
And I found the quote from the Kabbalion that kind of like sums up that idea, Rufus, that's so difficult to sum up.
You got
And
it on hand?
yeah, it's just
And,
one line.
and you know that this interview that I did so poorly to try to summarize, the guy himself was really struggling to get it out as well. And this is a guy who studied Spinoza, wrote book on Spinoza, and during the interview he just had nearly as hard of a time as I did.
That's
So
always how it is, though. You're trying to express something abstract. It's like this weird thing that we can't quite grasp. So what is your thing, Aaron?
Well, that reminds me. There's a Chris Smithers song where he's talking about like, how funny it is to have a mind that's big enough just to think about it all.
Oh,
To not really see. But basically it was, while all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all.
and
Meaning in everyone.
And now the connection to that, I think it even touches it in the Kabbalion. It talks about, Shakespeare wrote, these fantastic plays like Hamlet or whatever. But yet he is not. He wrote the characters in Hamlet, and he is those characters. But those characters are him. But at the same time, he is not those characters. It's like and that probably made it more abstract.
it's more like, We Tree Bonsai just popped into my chat and reminded me of a phrase. We Tree said, "I am more than all the parts that created me." And the thing I was trying to think of that stumbled me a minute ago, there's a way to phrase it. It's literally the same saying, and that is that you are more than the sum of your parts. So when I tried to say earlier that, you think of a cell in your body is made up of all these cells. You are more than just a pile of cells,
Yes.
right? You can't just put a bunch of cells together and say, right, this is me, or this is a person.
Right.
So it's sort of that way with your place in the universe, that the universe is more than the sum of its parts.
Right. Yes.
And you are literally a part of the universe, like a cell is a part of your body.
We're talking about consciousness. That's it. That's the brass tacks of it all, is consciousness, because we are our body, but yet we're more than it. We can think about ourselves. That's what makes us more than it. And it's a weird place to be.
Well, I wanted to talk to you guys about like like the intent in dreaming that we're talking about, like having the iceberg to go to and everything. Have you guys had any dreams where you feel like an urgency to do something in your dream?
Sure.
Like it's not like a lucid dream, but it's kind of like I
gotta
do something.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that doing stuff like this is only going to increase that. And in this book that I'm reading, that audiobook that I'm doing, The Art of Dreaming, I don't know if you guys are listening to it. It's really interesting. Some of it's a little bit wonky for me, but there are a lot of really interesting phrases and terms that he uses that kind of make more sense to me now. And one of them is like the dreaming attention. So it's basically like your ability to focus on things even though you're actually not in a lucid state. So like I've been having dreams that are so much more vivid, and like my motives and objectives are more clear. I can read in my dreams, colors are more vivid, I remember more details. Have you guys seen a spike in any of that?
Well, I I gotta say, for me, the thing is that with the colors and the reading and dreams and stuff like that, I've been doing that since my 20s. So
Mhm.
I've, but it's a great thing when you go through that, when you're really able to enrich the colors yourself and you can read things
Mhm.
and that starts to really become part of your knowing within your dreams. It's a beautiful thing to experience. So I'm glad that you're going through that.
It's
Oh,
so exciting.
I
Yeah,
can totally
definitely.
read things in my dreams.
Mhm.
That's something I've been practicing for a couple of years, and absolutely, I mean, it's like when you're in a dream, when you walk by or walk by a sign or a car drives by, and you might at a glance notice the license plate or something. In my dreams, I can literally stop and pause and take a second and actually just read what's there rather than just have it flash by real.
Flash by.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's dope. And that's like I didn't understand what that meant. Like cuz like the thing is it's like black and white for a lot of people. Either you're just having a dream or you're having a lucid dream. But I think the idea is to make your what would, be an everyday person's mundane dream of just chaos actually become lucid by gaining more control in your dream. And I think those are ways we can do it,
Are
like we
you
can.
keeping a dream journal?
I don't know.
Well, if you can, even if you just do it verbally, but it's nice. It is really nice. Like, I enjoy pulling out my dream journal and seeing, oh yeah, this is what happened in this time on this date, and here was the triggers. It it's a cool thing to be able to go back to and to have, and it will help to develop you even farther.
See,
Right.
that's another reason I like doing what we're doing here, because it's like every morning we wake up and say, "Hello, this is what I dreamt last night," and so we're keeping like a collective dream journal, which is pretty awesome.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have a common goal in all of it is even more awesome. Like
It's even doubly more awesome that that we're all like either in the same time zone or very within what, like Josh and you Aaron, you're only 1 hour separated.
Yeah, you guys are just an hour off from us.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So pretty much we should be asleep and dreaming at the same time,
Right.
which is really cool. And that's something that we touched on earlier of like having people around the world join the group or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
it's one thing to have people like all over the world try this experiment where we can, you know, somebody in Europe will be asleep while we're totally awake, and they'll wake up in the morning and they'll say, you know what, I dreamed about you guys last night. But it's something else entirely to have all of us asleep together and wake up. And by the way, this is the crux of the reason that I wanted to do this all these years. I wanted to be able to wake up and say, I dreamt about you, and then have you say, holy shit, I dreamt about you. What did you do? And I'll say, well, I had a hammer and I was beating on this thing. And you said, no shit, you were beating on my car. And I was like, you know what I mean? It's like having the exact same dream, not just, it's like, it's one thing to say, well, I had a dream I was on an iceberg, and I'm pretty sure you guys were there, and I'm pretty sure you were there, Josh, and I think you were there too, Aaron. It's another thing to say,
Mhm.
well, I was doing this thing specifically, and then have you say, well, yeah, you were doing that. You were doing it to blah, 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 and finish the sentence, you know what I mean? Or finish painting the scenario.
Definitely.
That's sort of the ultimate goal. That this is really the whole reason I wanted to do it. So when it comes to having people like on in like vastly different time zones, like Australia, right? Because totally, there's no way there's going to be any overlap. They're completely awake, we're completely asleep. So
But
it's,
you can still connect.
I,
Yeah,
I
like with the remote
yeah, I think
stuff,
we can
like
still
or whatever.
connect.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we can still connect. But the only issue I have with that is like the way we're all close to the same time zone and the way we report to each other in the hangout group, and in the next morning we wake up and say, hey guys, this is what I dreamt last night. But then again, if somebody in Australia a day beyond or a day ahead of us sees that, if they're in our group and they see that, it, it'll either trigger them, I don't want to like front load, you know what I mean? I want to like I want to
I understand what you're saying. I
Yeah.
get what you're saying.
I want to have that wow moment. It's like,
Mhm.
holy shit, we all just woke up and we all are reporting, or at least a couple of us are reporting like exactly the same damn thing at exactly the same time.
And I think that with time, I think that we will find that that's very possible.
I
And
It's
the
agree.
just
other
going to
thing
take
is that,
time.
Yeah.
right, and even if you don't get there, the fact, like, you know, if having a reasonable expectation of the fact that you're even just trying to get to a location
Right.
is only going to help to advance yourself anyways, like,
Mhm.
because you're trying to partake more. And so it's good.
Exactly.
Right. And Aaron, I really do hope that you can keep a dream journal. I know that it's a pain in the butt, but even if you just do it for a month, um, the thing is that if you wake up at 2 in the morning with the dream, you got to have the journal next to you because you got to immediately look at the clock, go write down the time, write down what the dream was, and then write down any reality that you remember that could have triggered it before or
Okay.
Well,
during.
now to add to that, I've been using our Hangout as that.
That's what
Yeah.
Rufus was saying.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a
But then you
collective
got to
dream
go
journal.
backwards and then you can lose that. And I
I
think,
ain't gonna lose it. I
no,
mean,
no,
it's
but
got the time, it's got everything.
no, because as it keeps going and going and going, it's not going to be the same for when she's like 40, 50 years old and able to pull out her dream journal. It's a totally different thing.
Now, did there in if you read in The Art of Dreaming, it also says that, that is it kind of goes nowhere to keep a journal at the same time. I agree there's benefit in it, but there's also
There's a benefit in helping to develop
Well,
your skills.
I agree. He ties it to like the ego.
yeah.
Is basically what he's saying, that having a journal called, My Dreams, and taking meticulous, like it's a way for your ego. But I think that depends on how you look at it,
It depends on the
honestly.
person too.
And it
Yeah,
depends on
it's
the
not about the
person.
ego. It's
No.
about developing your own knowingness of what is happening and what is your triggers, what are your path. It's not about your ego.
Well, I
Agreed.
mean, our ego is definitely the forefront runner in everything we do, though. There's
Yeah,
no
but
doubt about that.
but I'm talking about trying to develop a skill, not an ego.
But what I guess I'm saying is that
All
developing a
right, all
skill
right.
is
You do guys
also
do whatever you want. I'm sorry I suggested it because
No,
it's
but
always
you're
it
right.
always goes
You're
no
right.
because it constantly goes back to what these guys say.
Well,
You
no,
know,
you
it's like
can
I'm just trying
they
to
can
share with
verify.
I'm just
No,
trying to
influence.
share
I
with
want to keep a
I'm
journal.
trying to share with another woman who clearly is enjoying figuring stuff out. And I'm trying to make sure that she can look back at stuff 20 years later
Sure.
and that she can help to develop her own skills. And then it has to keep going back to these other guys that whatever, it's like whatever, you do whatever you want to do. I'm
No,
just trying to
I want
share.
to. I actually have an old moleskin that I've never used and I've carried around forever, and I think that's what it's supposed to
It's
be.
just a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
No, and I'll add to that and say I have kept dream journals throughout my life, but I don't detail every dream. It's only specifics. If it's a dream that I deem is real important, I'll write it down. Um, but the thing is, and maybe this is different with me, I can remember dreams from 15, 20 years ago, like no problem. I didn't write them down. I just remember them. It's like I can go there. And those are the dreams that had the meaning to me. Like, hell, over 10 years ago, I had my first lucid dream experience and out of body experience. And that was, I can remember it detail for detail. And I never wrote it down, but granted, I see what you're saying. I'm not trying to discount it is all I'm really saying.
Yeah, I mean it just gets tiresome when I'm trying to talk to people about stuff and it's always about the ego, going back to the ego. It's like we got to keep going back to other people's stuff. No. You're just trying to share what helps and I'm supposed to listen to these guys and what they say helps, but if I say it then it's ego.
Well, I think a lot of it's self-verifiable because we are. I mean, it's undeniable that we're ego-driven beings.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
that's
we
not what
are.
we're talking about.
But it always goes back there. It's not
Okay, so
necessarily
then,
what we're talking about, but it does go back there.
well, just so you know, from my perspective, um, everything I say, I'm not going to have it relegated down to this word ego.
And just as a and I don't mean this in any. This is an intellectual concept, but an experiment. But would that not too be ego
Then
telling
why
you
am I
not
even
to do that?
bothering to do all this?
Well, sure, the ego is also the thing that tells us we need to eat, that we need to go to
Yeah,
bed.
but it's
The ego is a good thing, but it's also something we need to keep in check.
it's what does that have to do with trying to do a dream experiment and trying to keep track of what's going on for yourself?
I mean,
To
it puts a.
learn for yourself.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it can lead to putting a feather in your hat and saying, "Well, I've done this." That
So does skateboarding. So does
you're right.
anything
It
else.
does.
Okay, so
You're right.
then why do we have to relegate the conversation constantly back to this
Well,
ego
maybe
thing?
it's not for us, but maybe for the listeners because it's the idea of keeping it in check. It doesn't necessarily
What
mean
do
it
you
has to
have to
go
keep
there.
in what is it that has to be kept in check for trying to further your dreams and your knowingness? What is
Because
it you need to keep in check?
our self-importance is the thing that we spend more energy on self-importance than anything else in our
What
lives.
do you think dreams are part of?
I would say offhand, just self or subconsciousness,
What do you think it's all part of though?
the all,
Okay,
everything.
do you think that when you dream and that you have a really bad experience and you have a really guilt, like when you have like feel extreme guilt or pain or empathy, like when you feel that deeply in your dreams, do you think that helps?
It can, yeah,
Yeah.
sure it
Okay,
can.
so it can. So the thing is that I just don't see personally, and say what you will, but like when you're talking and you're trying to describe to me about what these guys are saying in their books, for
Hmm.
instance, at the end of it, I'm not saying to you, oh, that's just their ego.
No, but
Okay, so when
there's
then, so then
there's a
when, so
difference
then
there.
when, oh, okay, all right.
But go ahead. No, no. I'm sorry to interrupt. Continue on, please.
But so if a person's trying to share also the same thing that they do on how to advance something, right?
Hmm.
Why relegate what they're saying to that? Then relegate the books to the same thing.
Checkmate.
Well, no, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, but it becomes down to this idea that it doesn't have to be that way, but it again to the audience to keep the ego in check. That's the premise of it all. Is even in the books they say keep your ego in check. You must
That's
constantly reflect on your ego and know that it's going to be your biggest enemy. Um, and I don't think that I was going against you in that way. From what I'm saying, just because I'm
I'm
relating to a book, it's just something I know that I've read that I could relate to.
but in your dreams, it's a big part of your experience and knowing and helping to teach yourself things. It's not
Sure.
just like, so when you have a serious experience and an empathy or even an apathy or a guilt or a fear, um sure, go ahead and keep your ego in check, but in your dreams you're learning about yourself.
I agree with you fully. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't think we're
why
far off.
yeah, so then I don't see anything wrong with making a suggestion to keep a dream journal.
No, and I wasn't.
And I don't
I wasn't
relegate that down
attacking.
to the ego.
I wasn't attacking the idea of a dream journal. What I'm going after is saying that in keeping a dream journal, it could inspire the ego to pick up a feather in its hat and say, well, I've done this, I've experienced this, and this is what I think, and it's better than what you think. And
No, it's not better. This is why I said that I don't follow
not
dream
better.
books. This is why I said I don't follow dream books, because I don't want to be told by anybody else just because they did something that somehow that makes it better.
No, I get what you're saying.
I made that point at the very beginning, didn't I?
Absolutely. And the thing is, like, Monroe's books are nothing like that. You know, I think the book she talked about with the dream journal was it was Castaneda's Art of Dreaming. It just said it in particular to that person, Castaneda. He's like, you're just going to turn it into an ego thing. I'm not saying that everybody would do that, but there is implications that it could happen. Monroe's works, on the other hand, are very just practical, almost textbook like, that have no incentive and ego and telling you what you're doing is wrong. It's basically saying all it says is go with the flow. It gives you tips and tricks along the way. And I still like, I really think, Influence, that you would like Robert Monroe a lot. I think you would really, you'd be like, this is a good man. And he has a lot of good things to say. You know, read his books if you want to, or if not, that's fine. But just look up the guy. Go look up his interviews. His interviews, you know, he's just a very humble man that was trying to express something he experienced to other people, and he did a really good job at it.
I'm not saying anything against the guy.
No, and I know you're not. And all I'm saying is that to anybody out there, please go look into the man, because you can type in anybody's name, expose anybody's name, fraud, and nothing comes up on this guy. Nothing comes up.
So when you have an out of body experience and you share to somebody that you've had an out of body experience, are you trying to pretend like you've one up them?
No, but my ego could easily do that. Sure.
Okay, so if Erin says that she's now colored, that she's like being able to make brighter colors and read now and stuff like that, is she trying to one up any of us?
No, I don't think that.
Okay,
but
and I don't think so. And I don't.
But I'll be honest
either.
in this way, that sometimes, I mean, she's my partner and I love her to death, obviously, but she'll talk about things and be like, well, damn it, I haven't made it that far. And that's my ego. And I admit that. But I don't express it. I'm not like, I don't hold that against her in any way.
But the thing is she's just having her
I know, but that's how
beautiful
the ego is. That's how easily the ego is inflamed. We're all guilty of it, and that's all I'm pointing out, is that anytime you're upset about anything, that is your ego. If you're upset at all, that is truly your ego.
But she's just having her beautiful experience.
I know, and I'm
learning and going through her stages of advancing herself. This isn't about everybody else's hangups on their issues with ego and everything else. This is her walk.
I agree, but you know, and at the same time, I mean, it's our walk too. We are partners. We're equals. So it is.
But in her dream state, it's her walk.
I agree. No, I agree.
Okay. So but, I don't want. I don't want to, in any way, shape, or form, hinder the beauty of what it is that she gets to experience.
I agree with you. No,
okay.
I do agree.
Okay.
And I'm all I'm saying is that, and she's, you know, we've had these discussions. She can be jealous at times, and it's not jealous. It's just that, like, I wish that I could do that. Like, we all have this thing, you know, it's common. Everybody has it happen. Like, we're working on this dream experiment, and the first person that's like, boom, I can nail it. This is proof. Every single one of us that didn't do it is going to be like, well, damn it, I wish I could. And that's what I'm saying is the
Yeah,
ego. Although we're
it
working
could be,
together.
but it could be that it could be that maybe we don't get there yet, okay?
Sure. Yeah,
But
you're
that
right.
we still can get there.
You're
And
right.
maybe we'll never get there, but that's okay, because it's still just part of our individual journey at the same time, and it's all beautiful regardless.
You said it perfectly. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
100% on that.
So,
And Aaron, jump in. Fucking save Grace for me,
hey,
girl.
Garth.
Come on.
No, you fight. You pick your own battles.
Come on, tell her that I'm not all wrong.
Anyway.
give your perspective, Aaron.
Josh needs you to white knight for him a little bit.
White knight for me,
I'm
girl.
not a white
knight for me, girl. Come on, gaslight the audience.
Listen,
I'm
I
an
know
assassin.
I'm
not a
firm.
white knight.
I know I'm harsh, and I know I can be firm and whatnot, but it's because I really do believe in the power of the dreams for each person to have their experience in them, and I think that they're the most amazing, beautiful things. And I don't think that what I experience and what I go through should speak for anybody else's experiences, or that just because I did something that somehow that makes me superior in any way to anybody else's experience. That's why I say I don't care what anybody else's interpretations are or anything like that, because I don't want to get hung up on any of their stuff. And the only thing I want to see happen is that if somebody's really into it and they love what they're going through, that they should be able to, have a journal if they want to and reflect on the beauty of that, even if it's 20, 30 years later.
I'm not stopping anybody from having a journal. All
Paddle
I'm saying,
your own canoe.
you paddle a wrong canoe. All I'm
Right.
saying is that paddle your own fucking canoe, but keep your ego in check. Like, because that's the first thing that we all face, and I do it too. We all have to face that, and as long as we can recognize that we have to keep our ego in check, then it doesn't matter. If keeping a dream journal does it for you, and you don't have to like be self-important in it, then fuck yeah, do it. But for me, I'd probably be self-important in it. You know, I'd be like, oh, this is my old dream journal. Check this out. I'm gonna read from it. You know, like, you know, that's the difference. That's for me. You know, if Aaron doesn't do that, hell yeah, then run it. And you know, we have a pretty open-ended relationship like that. I don't tell her what she can't do or can, and we're pretty open like that.
I apparently can't eat the last of the Mexican
She
style
can't eat the
shredded
last
cheese.
of this cheese. It's like smoking somebody's last bowl without telling you. Yeah, you can't do that. You damn right you can't do that. You ate the last of the cheese when we went and got it together. Didn't tell me. That's it. That's it. That's all the cheese.
Well,
Hell
I do have another like recent dream experience to share with you guys. That was pretty weird and involves Josh too. And you guys will think it's funny. So going back to the whole like focusing our dreaming attention and feeling like the
I'll be back, I gotta pee.
urgency. Okay. The urgency of like having to do something in our dreams when they're, we're not fully lucid. I was in this house that we're in now, and it was different but the same how things are.
Mhm.
And I just had this like feeling like I needed to do something. So at some point in my dream, like I knew I was dreaming. I was dreaming that I was dreaming. And I was like, okay, I've got to do something that will prove that I was here, is kind of where my mind went with it. And Josh had pulled this old drawing out of a sketchbook. It's just like it's like a creepy alien looking guy holding a maggot. Like, it's weird. It's a weird drawing. But I like it, so I put it on the fridge in real life. In my dream, I go into the kitchen and that drawing is actually there on the fridge and I see it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, this is what I can do. I'm going to take the drawing and I'm going to put it in the freezer. So in my dream, I take the drawing, which it looked very similar, but it was very distinct in the dream, but it was different than what it looked like in real life. Like, all the shapes were there, but some of the details in it were different. But I remember it exactly. Anyway, I put it in the freezer and I was like, okay, cool. Now I'll be, like, everything's fine. So then I wake up, of course, like in real life, and I'm like, okay, like, I'm kind of getting my bearings and I'm stumbling to the kitchen and I'm pissed off because the first thing I see is that this drawing is actually still on the freezer. I'm like, well, damn, I don't know what I was doing, but I was hoping for something. So then a couple days later, I told Josh about it, and he was like, well, did you like look in the freezer to see if there was anything weird or amuck in there? And I'm like, well, I looked in it, I didn't see a drawing, obviously, and I just kind of left it at that. Well, he's like, well, let's look in the freezer. And we go and look in there, and weirdly enough, there's not much in our freezer, by the way. It's pretty barren. There's like an old bag of lima beans. I think that's about it. But in the very back of the freezer, there's a bit of the trailer hitch from Josh's truck that he cut off with his knife. Like, the hitch wouldn't fit the truck or the trailer onto it because it had this rubber fitting on it. So he cut that off. And like, that was months
in the dream. In the dream or in reality?
In reality.
Oh,
This
okay.
is in the
Okay.
freezer. And there's like and this is months ago that he did this. Like, when we moved into this house is when he did this.
Right.
And this thing is in the freezer, and it was weird. Like, I don't think that means anything, but it was just odd to find something out of place in the freezer when, in that dream I was trying to put something into
In the freezer.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Nice.
it wasn't, probably doesn't correlate, but it was still like a moment of like, what the fuck? It's weird. But I thought it was interesting that I had a motive in my dream. Like, I was dreaming, and I knew I had to do something. So I feel like that's a good step.
Is there like something very specific you want to accomplish besides like what we're doing?
Well, honestly, I just want to have more control in my dreams. I want to be able to turn a mundane dream into a lucid dream, Now,
just out of curiosity, do you have any specific superpowers in your dreams?
I've been able to fly. That's about the only thing I can think of. I can also like grow like plants. I've had dreams where I can like just manifest a forest like out of nowhere.
Okay, so that's a good. I mean, that's like accomplishing, like trying to be the full-on creator. Like, it's the same as the colors and reading and stuff like that. Can you breathe underwater?
Yes. That just reminds me. I wanted to tell you guys too. I actually had a dream 2 nights ago that I was in a city that was completely underwater.
Okay.
And I think that it correlated with the iceberg because it was like freezing cold, like really cold water.
Do you happen to know what the city might have been?
I don't. It seemed like it was actually kind of a weird mix between like a Lord of the Rings city and New York City. It was a weird place. It was weird.
That's it. That's why I was curious if you were going to say New York City, to be honest. I was kind of curious. Okay. Can you outrun things that are after you? Like, you will outrun it. It will not catch you. So do you have speed? Like, the superpower of speed?
I do have speed. I actually have never had a dream where I'm being chased by anything. But
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome.
But I have dreamed that I'm a very fast runner. Like or it's not even like runner, it's like a slitty flight running thing. Kind of like, those little teeny tiny drones that they drive through ruins like really quick and they're real zippy and flippy.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I equate it, like, or explain it. It's like that kind of speed and motion.
Now I'm having this one problem that just arose for the first time in my history of dreaming. I can outfly anything in my dreams.
That's awesome.
But that really comes from the skydiving, real life skydiving, and mastering other things that has helped me in the dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I can also breathe underwater, but one of the things that happened to me recently was a lot of the times when I go to fly, it's because I want to teach somebody in the dream how to fly, and then I try to show them that I'm flying, and then I can't fly. I mean, they can't fly, but I can fly. Anyways, there was a group of guys in the mall, and they sent drones after me. And I've never had to face little drones in my dreams before. And all of a sudden, these drones, I was so high up. I flew so high up, I went past the peaks of the mountain and into the stars, like just lower part of the stars. I was able to appreciate the beauty of it for just a moment. And then I knew I had to deal with these drones. And this drone actually had a needle and was going to try to inject me so that it could force me to fall out of the sky, so that I would lose this power. And I knew that it was trying to take the power. So I woke myself up, and I was telling somebody, I was telling them in a chat, and Jones recommended that maybe I could start using lasers with my eyes or something, because that he can. I've never had the ability in the dreams to use laser eyes. And so now I'm going to ask the guys, Min, have you used laser eyes in your dreams? Because I'm curious if you have, Rufus or Josh.
I never have. In
Okay.
fact, it was you that even gave me the idea to even like work on having like superpower in your dreams. With the exception of the ability to fly, that's like the only. And I sometimes, when it comes to like breathing underwater, that's not necessarily. In fact, I'll explain the best I can. I had one or two experiences where I was breathing underwater, and like in real life, I actually woke up and I was face down with my face buried in the pillow, and I was actually having trouble breathing. Do you know what I mean? So in real life, I'm actually laying in bed with my face just smashed into the pillow, and I'm not breathing very clearly. So, and during the night, right just before I woke up, I was actually dreaming that I was underwater. And so, although I was breathing underwater, it was like I felt the difficulty, the thickness of the viscousness of the water, and rather than the thickness of the water, rather than the thinness of the air. That was the only experience I've had, maybe once or twice, and then woke up, and quite literally, I was actually, just smashed my face in the pillow. That was my underwater experience. Never shot lasers out of my eyes, but
you got to try it, Rufus.
Yeah, like
I am.
I'm just kidding.
Because when Jones said that to me, I was thinking, oh, that's interesting, because I've never tried to shoot laser out of my eyes. And then I kind of was curious, is this something that guys more men have tried maybe? And I didn't know maybe if it could be linked to the comic books and the superhero movies. But so I was curious, because have you ever shot lasers out of your eyes, Aaron?
No, I haven't.
Josh, have you?
No lasers.
Yeah, so that would be kind of a really interesting thing to be able to do, because I did not know at that moment, I could not deal with the drones. And normally I can deal with most things. And most things can't get me in the sky. Like, I haven't had anything be able to catch me in the sky but this drone.
See, that's something I find really interesting is like the ability to, in somewhat in a lucid state where you can create these superpowers for yourself in a dream. I think that's absolutely fascinating, and it's something that I will be working on. However, I do have two things happening in my chat right now that I want to throw at you guys. One is a question about precog, and We Tree Bonsai wants me to ask you guys: what level, or if any, does this panel have in terms of like any precog abilities?
Now, I think Influence and I both have had our fair share at that.
Yes, several, lots.
Mm. I mean, I'll admit most of mine are nonsensical that don't really affect life that much, but I've had them.
Aaron, have you ever had any kind of precog type dreams where you dreamt something and then it happened in real life?
I have had one, and it was I actually dreamed someone's death. But that is the only one that I've
Oh,
had. And it
oh,
was hella, like it was really intense, but it's the only one I've had.
yeah, somebody already said that in my chat too. The spinoff of that same question, which is what I would call my closest ability or experience when it comes to precog, and that would be a deja vu experience. Every time in my real life when I have a deja vu, it seems to me there's something deep in the back of my mind that is telling me that I had this experience somewhere in my past in a dream.
Hmm.
So, what do you guys think of the deja vu phenomenon when it comes to dreams?
I mean,
Yeah, that happens a lot.
I just talked about that with my mom, like, and her husband, and he's like he's like a simpleton. He doesn't care about any of this shit. He's like, I had deja vu all the damn time, man. I don't know what the fuck it means. Like, and that's the thing. I think we all experience it, and we don't know what the fuck it means. But it does tie to that precognition where if you really are able to, for me, anytime I have it now, it's not as often as it used to be, but when it does happen, it's like I know what's going to happen next.
It's weird. I have these periods in my life where deja vu happens like all the time. Like within 1 year, I'll have 10 deja vu experiences, and then I'll go a couple of years without having any. So I have these bouts of deja vu. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you, anytime I've done psychedelics, while I'm on psychedelics, I'm like constant deja vu, which is strange. It's like it happens over and over again throughout the
Deja vu is
experience.
pretty prevalent for me. But I don't ever feel like it ever like relates to anything that I've experienced, like truly have a recollection of, you know what I mean? Like it's like a weird phasey moment where I feel like I've been here, or I've felt this way, or I've like all these different elements line up in a particular way that are striking and remarkable, but it's never like in reference to anything I've directly experienced that I know of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've had a
I
couple of deja vus where I was just about 100% certain that whatever experience I was having as the deja vu phenomenon was occurring, in the back of my mind, I was like so certain that it wasn't necessarily something that I had done, because that's the phenomenon, right? Well, the idea is I've done this before, I've been here before. It's
yeah.
more like I had dreamt this experience before.
Yes. I think that's you're touching into the reality of it, is that I don't think that we've done it before, that we have dreamt it before. Um, have, and this is a weird question. Have any of you guys ever had like a Aaron brought it up, like a dream, like a movie where it plays out, or for me, video games. I'll be playing a video game, but I'm in it, or even a to be continued dream with text in it.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that, the to be continued.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes back to a kid. My first one of those, I was elementary school, and I still remember the dream. I never wrote it down, but I still remember it. I'm going around. It's like an alien movie, like the Sigourney Weaver alien movies, and we're going around the spaceship, and there's these bees, and we're squeezing the stingers out of them, and we latch into our backpacks and go into like a stasis. And I do that, and it says in metallic letters, kind of like the old Super Soaker letters. It says to be continued, and it hasn't been continued yet, but I mean, I've had other dreams where I've this is the end of your journey in like old English letters. You're not waking up, and but they say you can't read in dreams, but
That's
yet
not true.
Yeah,
I
it's not
know
true.
That
Yeah.
it's
is,
not true
they
because I can
say
read in dreams.
dreams are in black and white, not in color. That's not true either.
That's not
Yeah.
true. Also, yeah.
I
This
just
is
think it takes a certain attention to be able to start noticing stuff like that. Because
That's
I
exactly
can
right.
remember a time when my dreams, they've always been in color, but I can remember a time when I couldn't read or I couldn't
I
write.
couldn't read. Yeah, it in past.
That's absolutely right, Aaron. Because the ability to be able to read is something that requires intention. And that's
Yes.
why I think it's cool that we're doing what we're doing, because with a little bit of practice, you can stop yourself in the middle of a dream and read a sign or read
Mhm.
a license plate or whatever. So it's part of being able to at least control your dreams in some sense, in terms of like lucid dreaming. So it does take intention and focus and a little bit of a waking consciousness to make that happen. And it takes intention. So if you can do that with a little practice and achieve the ability to read, then what we're doing, I think, is achievable as well. With a little bit of
I agree.
practice, with intention, then we can eventually get to the point where not only are we reporting to each other that, yes, I made it to the iceberg, and then nobody else says, like, there's 4 of us in the group right now. So, if you wake up tomorrow, Aaron, and you say, I made it to the iceberg, and the other 3 of us wake up and say, how awesome, that's cool. How much cooler would it be to say, yeah, I was there too, and you were wearing blah, 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 and you were doing this, and you can say, you know what, I was, and I did this, and then I also did that, and then we can just bounce off of each other and literally confirm that not only did we have the same dream, but we had it at the same time, at the same location, and we were
Mhm.
possibly even interacting with each other at the same time in the same
From a
dream.
different consciousness.
Yeah. How fucking awesome would that be? That's
I
And
think
I
it's
think it's doable. It
I
just
think
takes
it's
work.
doable. Yeah.
so. Josh, did you answer on if you had superpowers in your dreams? What your superpowers are?
Honestly, like every time I try to do anything, it's like it goes wrong a little bit. Like
Okay,
I'll try to
like
fly
what about
and I'll end
flying?
up upside down. I'll end up upside down, like floating is usually what happens.
Okay.
Um, but no, it's not
What
really
about
the thing.
breathing underwater?
I've never experienced breathing underwater. No.
What about being able to outrun anything coming for you?
Oh yeah, I mean running faster than normal and like one step takes 20 feet,
Yeah.
that's usually a trigger for me to know I'm dreaming.
Yeah, like if you're running down a flight of stairs where you don't have to go each step, you can just like hop the whole set of stairs.
Yeah, and the other thing, the first thing that let me know I was dreaming was I jumped down like 3 stories and landed on my feet, and I was like, I didn't get hurt. I'm dreaming. That was the first thing that did it for me.
When I used to try to fly, I was not able to fly before. I would just be able to go up so far, like, kind of float in a room.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of the times my dreams would be where I would be going up really high in something like an elevator, of some kind, and I would get really high up, and then the elevator was going to crash.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would have to think, oh, I got to jump at a certain point, as if that was really going to help, but I got to jump when it crashes. But once I started skydiving, I lost all of that.
Mm.
And then I just became a master in the air.
You know what's interesting about Robert Monroe? He says that most people that have these experiences are people that would like to fly, like they're pilots, they're people that would jump out of airplanes, glider pilots, things like that. Most people that have these experiences usually come from that place for some reason. That's weird because I'll tell you this: first grade, my teacher, her husband was a commercial pilot, and I fucking loved airplanes. And I can tell you just about any military aircraft that's ever been built, any country, and I've built remote control airplanes, and that's just the idea of flying has always been super sticks out to me. So I think there's something to that. It hadn't done me much good, to be honest, but I can't fly in my dreams. So
You can't?
no, I end up like the bet. I mean, I've had straight up out of body experiences, but when I'm lucid dreaming, I try to fly, and I go into a floating weird, like I'm in space, or the best I've done. It's kind of like flying, like I can zoom to where I'm in thinking about being. And that's the best I've done. But I
Because
can't just fly.
really,
I
'cause I can fly two different ways. I thought
Okay.
everybody had dreams of flying.
No, I can't fly. I cannot.
I can go full like Superman mode, like where I just bolt up and I can just go, and I will go through trees and over oceans and just wherever I want. I just go. And but a lot of the times there is something that either is chasing me that I need to get away from, or I'm bored and I just want to show other people how to do it. And I'll be like, oh, watch this. And then I'll take that one step up and I'll float. And then they'll be like, oh my God, you can float. And I would be trying to tell them in the dream, yeah, but you can do this too. Just go with it. You just got to go with it.
Let go.
Yeah. And then they'll be like, no, and they're not, nobody will join. And I'm like, but I'm always trying to get somebody to join me.
Now I'll tell you the very first lucid dream experience I had, I was able to get to an out of body experience from it, and I've never been able to redo it. It's over 10 years ago. I I'd been working on this much like we are now, and I finally realized I was dreaming, and I decided to drive through a brick wall in my car because I didn't know what else to do. It was just this urgency. And I was standing in the living room where I lived at the time, and I knew I was there in a weird way. I don't know how to explain it. It was surreal. And I said, I'm going to see my body sleeping. And I tried to move, and it was like I was floating into and out of the walls, trying to get to the back room. And I finally made it to that back room where I was sleeping. And I saw the lump laying in the bed, but I couldn't, it didn't register. And I rolled over physically, and I saw my hair, and I realized that I was seeing myself sleeping. And I woke up to me looking where I was just standing. And it fucked me up a little bit. Like I was like, whoa. And I've never had that experience again. Not like that. I've never had that's the only out of body experience I can say I've truly had. And it was like trying to move in a different way. It was something I can't explain it in a normal
I don't know if
concept.
Rothschild's play is trolling or not, but it would be really, if it's true, that would be really wild. That would be funny. Even if it's trolling, it's funny. I had a dream I flew to the moon and back to Earth and ended up in the same Hollywood studio that Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing in. That's funny.
Now, I will say through Monroe's programs, which are just frequency. I've been to Mars in that way. Like I don't know why I decided, but it was like I'm gonna go to Mars, and I stood there on its surface from a weird place that I don't know how to explain the state of consciousness I was in, because I wasn't laying down taking a nap. I was just experiencing these frequencies, and I I had nowhere else to go. I didn't. I Mars was on my mind. I went there, and by the time it was over, and it said, "Okay, this is the end of the exercise," it scared the shit out of me when the voice came back in on the headphones. I jumped, and I was back in my body. But it was like for a good, what felt like 10 minutes or so. I just floated aimlessly until I decided I was going to see Mars. So
Well, you know how you can have the repeated dreams over and over again?
yeah, reoccurring dreams.
Yeah.
I
So
have those.
one of my reoccurring dreams was where I would be out in the country field, and I would be by these, like a big barn, and I would see a plane fly over, and it would drop a bomb, and I knew it was from Russia. Now, mind you, I'm of the generation that had to get under our desk still for the nuclear
Yeah,
bomb
we're
drills.
Cold War
Okay,
babies.
so we're the Cold War. We're being bombarded with this stuff in our heads. So of course, this is going to be
Duck
become part of my
and
psyche,
cover.
right? So, anyways, in this dream, the 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 plane's dropping the bomb, but I always know, okay, I'm gonna get away from that, no problem. But somehow I end up all the way over in California, and I'm on the coast, and there's a big, huge naval ship with the big satellite things on top. And I end up on the ship, I end up on the top at the satellite thing, then I end up on a UFO, but the UFO is man-made, and it's beautiful inside. It's got all this beautiful white leather and everything. It's like really pristinely done. And I'm like, "Oh, cool. We get to go for that ride." And the ride is one where you're going to get the tummy feeling, and it's going to be
Oh
like
yeah.
woo woo woo. So I get into that part of it, but then I get dropped off on a planet, and the planet is always really small to where you feel really big, and you can't really do anything on the planet, but there's just always something weird happening on the surface of the planet. It's almost like maybe a Jupiterian type thing where there's spirally things, and you got to hurry up and get off because something bad's going to happen if you don't get off. And I always end up going back off the planet, usually going to the moon, stopping off at the moon, then coming back to Earth, and then I'm right back on that naval ship, and that's when the dream ends.
Somebody made a comment in my chat earlier. It was a suggestion. They said that we should plan a picnic and that everybody bring a different item.
That's a good idea. That is. We could plan a picnic on the iceberg. We're all going to bring an item, and neither of us tell us.
I'll bring the hand warmers.
No, you can't tell what the item
You
is.
can't tell what the item is.
All right, now I got to pick something else.
Yeah. pick something else. Yeah, I've got an item in my mind, and it's something I would never bring, but I'm gonna bring it.
You know what? That's actually good because it's something you wouldn't normally bring.
Yeah, no, it's something I don't really like, and I wouldn't.
That's actually a really good idea. In fact, we could keep the location on the iceberg and
Is it
go
a
ahead.
tomato?
No, it's not. It's not a tomato, but that's along the lines of something I don't like. Yes.
That's funny. Well, at least the tomato would leave the big mark there, and you would know you left it there or something.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to like try to figure out. In fact, that's a really good idea. And what we should do is we have to find a way to confirm this so that we can't say, yeah, I was there and I did that, and then we could all just wonder. We could just
Well, what you can do, here's what you can do.
we have to
You
like
go-
write it down somewhere and have
Well,
a timestamp on it.
on your computer.
That's
You
a
can
good
make a
point.
new note. A new note. You can put it in the note, and then when you hit properties, it'll show if you modified it and what date and time you modified it.
That's a good idea. That's cool. Yeah. That way,
'Cause that's what I do a lot. I write stuff down on note cards so that way I can prove to people it wasn't modified,
that's
you
cool.
know?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
if I said, if you said, if you and I together the next day said, yeah, we were both there, and you said for some reason you had a hammer, and then I could say, no shit, look at my note here, and I could open it up and say, I'm going to bring a hammer, and they would have the timestamp that would be before that day that would prove that that would have been the item. So yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that is. Well, I've got just a few more minutes, and we're gonna get some food because it's
Nice.
Friday
And by
night.
the way, there's actually videos of me skydiving on my channel, so if you think I'm making it up, you're foolish.
Yeah, you can't let the
No,
trolls
no, I
get
know.
you.
I'm just letting them know that they actually sound foolish even saying it.
Yeah, influence is she's had some dope ass skydiving
No,
experiences.
I've seen her videos, and she's got like 40, something like 40 jumps under your belt.
Yeah, yeah, 41. I was gonna go for that 42, but you know what that 42
Yeah.
is?
You need to just go ahead and do it.
I know. I went to the drop zone last year. I even started to learn their entire manifesting system, which is called a Burble,
Hmm.
and I learned how to do all the manifesting that they use now around the world, which I was really happy I got that opportunity to learn because I was gonna see if I could earn the money through manifesting to go ahead and start earning some jumps back. Uh, but people don't like you stepping on their toes, and because that takes jump money out of the already club members because it's a
Yes.
non-for-profit. So,
All right, Josh, before you go, let's spend a minute or two talking about methods, because I'm curious as to what kind of methods you guys are using to achieve this
Good
goal of
point.
ours.
All right. I mean, I'll give you my method. When I lay down, I go into a relaxation mode. I measure my body getting heavy, and I look at the black behind my eyes, and then I just see what I see. And I don't always initially see anything, but I have seen the iceberg, and I'm trying to take that into my dream. I'm trying to say I will dream this later on. I know I'm not there yet because my dreams, to be real, don't come until early morning usually, like after like an hour before I have to get up. Um, that's when my dreams really hit hard. So I just say, this is what I'm gonna dream, and I try to have a mental picture of what I'm looking at and the people and an essence I'm looking for. That's pretty much all I do.
Well, even though I've seen Influence's face and her pictures, and I've seen Aaron, and I've seen your face, and you guys have seen mine.
Hmm.
Even though I've seen your faces, when I'm like laying in bed and drifting off and I'm trying to sleep, or even if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm trying to go back to sleep, one of the things that I'm using as a technique is that I invoke or I remind myself of your voice because I can
Ah,
hear your voice a lot better than I can remember your face.
right?
that's interesting. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, I never thought to actually think about the voice. I was just so you know, when I wasn't trying to focus on meeting you guys there. I was literally just trying to focus on getting to the iceberg because I don't remember ever being in an iceberg in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, I think once you're like, you can imagine the iceberg, then you're looking for other people. Is kind of how I imagine.
Yeah.
There's other
Except,
people there.
except I ended up snuggling the polar bear.
But that's close. That you got to the place you were looking for.
I'm
And
gonna call you the Revenant.
Monroe, honestly, he says that don't focus on the place, focus on the person you'd like to see. And I don't take fully from that. I think It's okay to focus on a place. And I'm trying to take a little bit from both there. Like I'm focused on the place, but I anticipate other people being there. Is where I'm at.
What's your method, Aaron?
I do a similar thing to what Josh said. I just fully relax my body. It's honestly like I don't focus on the darkness in my eyes, like behind my eyes, but I start to like see images bubbling up
Right?
when I'm laying there and my body's it's odd if I do open my eyes in those instances, I can't move my body. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I get into that kind of sleep heavy mode and I feel there's a very distinct vibration that my body takes on at that point, and it's a little bit overwhelming and kind of irritating in a way. Um, but I kind of just hang on to it, and at that point the images just they come more rapidly. And I honestly have I know I've spoken about my my loss of vision in my right eye. I have a lot of eye pain and things like that. So one of my bad hangups when I'm trying to get into that relaxed mode is always like focusing on my eyes.
Oh, okay.
And so I have a little bit of difficulty honestly getting there, but that's where I go. I get
Do you guys keep the room nice and dark when you're going to bed, just out of curiosity? Because
It's dark, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
okay, I am never in total darkness, by the way, which I know I'm supposed to be for health
doesn't
reasons
really
or whatever.
matter,
No, I'm
yeah.
talking about for health, like that you're supposed to, make
Yeah.
sure that you're whatever, you're not detecting all
made
the
it this
lightness
far.
or yeah,
You're
and I
good.
figure I'm right. That's how I feel. I've made it this far. So, but I'm not in darkness. Now, Rufus, do you have a method?
I lay like a mummy. I lay on my back in a symmetrical.
So you sleep on your back?
No, I don't. Not all night. As I fall asleep.
Me too, Ruth.
I mean, I wind up in all kinds of positions in the middle of the night. And
Right. But
usually about
but
3
when
or
you're
4 in the
trying to
morning.
go into the dream state, like if you're trying to
Yeah.
focus on what you're doing, do you do anything specific?
I go into a meditative state. I think of I sort of like what Josh says. I sort of focus and concentrate on the blackness of the inside of my eyelids when they're closed, except I sort of see a sunrise. It's not really an actual sunrise. It's not a memory of an image of a real sunrise or a picture. But when I close my eyes, I see sort of like, like when you rub your eyes, you see all kinds of colors and things like that, right?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
see like whatever color is left over in my mind's eye. I see it sort of congeal to this semicircle that looks or would more likely resemble a sunrise. So it's sort of
Okay.
a half circle of what's left over of all the colors and light patterns or whatever that my eyes or my mind's eye are just dissipating as after you close your eyes. And then
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm
no,
so sorry.
I
I got
just
excited.
I just generally focus on this. And like I said, I start off on my back in a very symmetrical position. So whatever my hands and feet are doing, they are even on both sides of my body. It's very symmetrical. And I'm not sure if that helps. I think it does. Perhaps.
Interesting.
Well, I want to say, like, first of all, I think that helps tremendously, personally, and I think it is a personal thing,
Yeah,
because
because
when
just
I'm
to add,
like,
I sleep facing my left intentionally. Like I sleep with my stomach facing left, and that's how I do it. So that's just an interesting observation.
well, one of the things that I found that helps me is when because I lay, like when you were describing how you lay, Rufus, I never realized it, but that's exactly what I do. I lay with my palms down, my feet are, shoulder width apart. It's a very symmetrical, like almost as if I were a corpse.
Yeah.
Like it's
Like a mummy in a coffin.
Jo-
exactly.
Josh, I have a question for you. Are you laying that way because when you had that out of body experience, was it that your head felt like it was way lower than your body at first when you first left your body, and it was almost like when how when you drink too much?
I didn't. Now here's the thing, but it's weird that you bring it up. So I've got 2 points. When I had my out of body experience, I didn't. I was already out by the time I realized it. I came to out of my body, but I have these weird experiences. Sometimes I smoke weed, or sometimes it's just a weird thing. I feel like my head there's something heavier within me.
Yeah,
And it's something heavier within me that's like, oh, I feel like I'm phasing out a little bit. So that's just interesting.
because when I had the out of body experience, I had literally just laid down in bed. Of course, I wasn't stoned or drunk or anything. And when I laid down, it was weird because my head felt like it was way below my feet, but it felt like I was drunk. Like it literally felt like, oh my God, this is how you feel when you come home wasted and you're laying
Yeah.
down and your head feels lower. And then I said, but you're not. So just go with it. And when I went with it, that's when I snapped and went out of my body.
Yeah, that's it. You nailed the exercise. That's how you get out of the body. It's like, and I mentioned that I felt like some through our experiences, I've had this feeling where my feet are at my head, like or that my head is at my feet, like I'm 180 degrees flipped in the bed, and I'm
Right.
laying there. And I'm out of my like normal position, but I feel like I'm 180 degrees different. So it's like there's something to that. But I've seen exactly what you've talked about, spoken about in several books that I've read just on the topic, just several explanations that and my last where I felt like I was spinning out, like you had to put your foot down on the floor.
Yeah.
Like you're fucking spinning out. You just go with it,
Yeah,
and
you
all of
gotta
a
just go with
sudden
it.
you're just snapped out of your body.
Yeah, and then when I looked at my body and I looked at my husband lying there, I was like, man, I should really go like to the hospital or something and get like a room number or something and a name and see if I could go get the information. But when I looked at the bedroom door to leave, like the thought process of going, I got scared. And so I said, well, wake him up and then have him watch you and try to do it again. So then I snapped back into my body and I woke him up and I said, wake up, wake up. And he's like, what? And I go, I need you to watch me. Right. Okay. So, anyways, I'm just like, I need you to watch me. And so, anyways, I went back to sleep. And then in the morning, he goes, what? He goes, why the fuck did I have to watch? And he goes, I've been watching you all night and you didn't do anything. So why the fuck did you have me watching you? And so I told him the experience and I'm like, I really wanted to know if you could see me if I left my body. He was like,
well, Erin's got a weird one. She's got a weird one from just a couple nights, a week, just before we started this. Erin had a experience. Why don't you tell them what happened?
Are you talking about the freezer drawing?
Yeah, the freezer.
I already told him.
oh, yeah, she told us. Yeah, that was pretty
Did
cool.
she tell that we found something in the freezer?
Yes.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
the fuck is that? Where
Yeah.
that thing was in the bed of my truck. I have no idea how it ended up in the freezer, but it was in the fucking freezer. I'm just like, because I told her, I was like, did you check the freezer for anything weird? She's like, well, no. She opens it up. Bam.
If you don't mind, I do want to tell Rufus one thing that happened recently with.
Do you think? I
Okay,
don't care.
all right. So, well, you guys know I put it in the Hangout that I went to sleep watching the movie Seven Psychopaths,
Mm-hmm.
and Colin Farrell is in there. Which, by the way, I do think Colin Farrell is like in his face, just beautiful man, and an extremely handsome man. So, anyways, in the dream though, okay, Seven Psychopaths. I'm looking at it in the version of stars, right? So, in the dream, I am now in an RV, and I think that might have been because of JT, because JT came in the hangout I think that day and was talking to me, and so somehow I ended up in this RV, and then uh, Colin Farrell was all of a sudden there. Now, mind you, in reality, on the TV is the movie Seven Psychopaths playing with Colin Farrell, right? So now in the dream, I'm talking to him, and I said to him, "Hey, can I talk to you about the star stuff in the movies?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so I'm like explaining stuff to him, and he goes, "Yep, yep." Well, when I woke up in reality, at the very end, Rufus, is the guy standing in the phone booth with a white rabbit, and he says, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, and
I
I'm
saw
like,
that comment.
that
Yeah,
was like a brilliant moment to wake up to
right.
from this dream of explaining to him the stars with Colin Farrell, and then he's on the movie, but then it literally wakes up to a star moment in the movie. And I was like, that was priceless.
Yeah, right.
So I had a good time with that one.
I had one more suggestion I wanted to throw at you guys
Do it.
for something that we could all work on during our little dream experiment thing. That I was thinking that we each get a regular white piece of paper, and you take a Sharpie and write down a word or a number, something simple, maybe only 4 or 5 characters or 4 or 5 digits, something easy to remember, maybe 3 letter word or a 4 or 5 letter word or a 3 or 4 or 5 digit
We
number.
get you. We get you.
I don't want to belittle the point.
You got your wooden spoon out. I love
all
you
right,
guys.
all right, but anyway,
Oh, hey, Rhinoceros. Hey, Rhino.
all right.
Finally,
So,
it
Nice,
shows
so
up.
we
nice to
each
see
do this,
Rhino.
right? But we don't tell each other what it is, right? You just take a piece of paper, write something down, and like tape it to somewhere in your house or just wherever, and
Or on
then
your forehead. Okay.
and then we each, while we're trying our experiment, like at some point, maybe we try to visit each other and see if we can read what's on that paper.
Good point. All right, let's do it.
I
Let's
think it
do
would be
that. I
funny
like
if everybody went to sleep with a white paper paste
that.
taped on
Taped to
their
their
forehead.
forehead.
I'm doing it.
They tried to read each other's notes.
I like
Post-it
it.
note. That's a good idea, though. Yeah, I'm down with that. I'm down
Yeah.
with that.
I wanted to go back real quick to Rufus when you were talking about seeing like a sunrise
Uh-huh.
or like a semicircle of color.
Uh-huh.
I get that often, but it's almost like it comes in waves. Like it's like I'm going through a tunnel or a vortex, and it's usually like a green color. It's pretty much always green. And it's like I'm going through, like, when you're in like the CAT scan machine or the
Yeah.
MRI machine, you're like in a really tight tunnel.
Uh-huh.
It's like there's a wave of that coming over me, so I only see like half of it. So I honestly think maybe those things that we see like that might be our vibrations.
Uh,
Um,
Absolutely. I have no reason to think otherwise.
yeah,
Could be.
I
Mine generally goes to an orange.
orange.
I mean, like I said, when you close your eyes, you've got all this leftover light that's either, their light receptors in your eyeballs left
Mhm.
over are still tingling and they're still sending signals, or it could be your pineal gland, which is your mind's eye. I don't know what it is, but I try to
Man, I would honestly,
conglomerate.
Rufus, I would love for you to read Monroe's work, like just as because you like to break shit down, and I'd love to. His books are easy to read, and I wish I could just give you these damn books that we live close. I mean, fucking read them, because man, I think you'd like it. I think you're on the right angle of it, and it seems. I mean, honestly, what you've done is in some ways farther than what I've done, and I think Monroe's shit would it'd help out
I'm down.
anybody
You
to
know I
look
like
at.
to read.
What?
I'm down. You know I like to read. One of these days we'll meet up and you can hand me them books.
Hell
I
yeah.
I would hand them to you because they're
They're really good. It's
Night,
honestly
Darth Larper.
Night Darth. Yeah, Robert Monroe writes in a way that I really like because and Rufus, I feel like you and I are really similar in a lot of ways
Well,
in how we
we have the
look
same
at this
name.
stuff. We do.
you
Haha!
have same name, Aaron and Aaron.
Goddamn.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier when we first started in the call. I was thinking that.
Aaron and Aaron.
Yeah. I don't really do anything special, by the way.
Your
When
methods.
I don't have any special methods. As a matter of fact,
You don't need them. Nobody needs them.
but I did purposefully watch that movie or that TV show, specifically knowing that the polar bear was going to be there, and I was hoping it would help trigger it, and it did. And but when you guys close your eyes, when I close my eyes, if I don't go right to sleep, I notice that I get what is almost like a film strip of endless drawings of weird stuff. And it could just be, and it's just endless. It could be endless cartoon characters and flowers. And it just is nonstop and it's super fast. Boom, 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 boom. Like somebody's just drawing all these images
Well,
in my
I'll
head.
influence. I have the similar problem, but it's different in a way. I don't get images. I get dialogue, and it'll be like a phrase, and I'll just repeat it somewhat like OCD over and over and over. And I think that's like I know it's my inner dialogue, and I think it's like our way of like getting in the way of ourselves just relaxing. But I'm not positive. I mean, that's the vibe I get from it because I'll be, just trying to get into that state, and I'll just like hook onto this weird, inane bullshit phrase of words or string of words, and it's just like it's like a loop. It hooks on it and won't let go.
This thing when I close my eyes, this is like I'm not even trying to do anything at all.
Mhm.
I'll just close my eyes. I could be just like literally on a call or I could be talking to Celery or anybody,
Mhm.
and I'll just close my eyes, but I'll be just laying there listening. But it is literally like I'm just picking up on other weird nonstop images.
Yeah,
It's really strange. I don't know
that
where
is
they're all
weird.
coming from. but I've even joked and been like, "Oh, I must be in some cartoonist's head right now." Like or I'll be over, "Oh, I must be hanging with this artist," and it's just very weird, and I
That'd be
don't
dope.
know where that comes from. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens a lot. A lot.
Laz is asking a question. He says, if the dream is lucid, are you still dreaming or are you awake in another dimensional state?
Now we're getting into next level stuff we don't have an answer for quite yet.
Yeah, Laz is always next level.
Yeah.
I
No, he is.
I don't think that any of us could even answer that question.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know
No.
where to begin on that. I really don't.
I think that's
I
a good
do know
point to
that
be
a
like,
vision is different than a lucid dreaming, though. That I
yeah.
know.
I think that lucid dreaming is a state of consciousness that's semi-conscious and semi-unconscious. I think it's the middle ground where your mind is doing both at the same time, where you're actually dreaming and you're awake.
See, what I would say in that point is that is the only point you're truly awake.
Oh,
in a
well, I'll be
lucid
honest with
dream.
you. I always find that when I have a night full of lucid dreaming, I usually wake up tired as hell, as though I had not gotten any sleep. Like,
Because you were
Yeah.
so active.
yeah, my mind was
Yeah.
just so active. Like I said this in the chat, in the Hangout chat, just the other day, that like 2 nights ago, that um that I had a terrible night, and I felt like I was awake all night long.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to also say that I don't have any way to prove in any way, shape, or form to somebody else that having a vision is definitely different than lucid dreaming. I just can only speak from my own experience that when I had vision, that I woke up literally saying, "No, you don't understand. You don't understand. This was not a dream. This was not a lucid dream. This was not a dream. This is a vision. This is a vision. This is exactly what's going to happen." And then it all happened. And I was in tears crying, and my daughter and my husband were just like looking at me, but they believed me because they had been through so much with me that they already know. Like, they're just like, "Oh, that's just the way she is. That's the way mom is. It's cool."
Influence is a little bit bad shit out there. I'm just kidding.
No, it don't even bother me or faze me.
I'm just kidding. No, we're all the dream team. We're out there digging in the final frontier. Now
Well,
I'm about to wrap it up because our food is about to be here.
okay,
So,
I just wanted to say one other thing. Like, I always thought it would be really cool if somehow it could be done through the web or whatever, but my fear is that entities, governments and stuff like that, and research people and stuff would use it against us. So I don't think it is a good idea to have like a huge database of people putting in their dreams, because
yeah.
I do believe that that would be used against us.
Well, I mean, Robert Monroe, if you look into his shit, it was definitely used by the government.
Yeah.
Project Stargate.
Yeah. Call me the tinfoil hat or whatever, but that's like, I believe that they would use that stuff against us. So I'm much more happier trying something like this. And I'm
Yeah, it's a
happy
little more
to,
intimate.
yeah, and I haven't been dreaming. I mean, I dream a lot, but I've been dreaming a lot more now that I don't party at all.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's becoming very much more crystal clear again, and partaking and remembering it when I wake up is a lot better now.
Well, I got to say that since we started this, I remember my dreams a hell of a lot more than I normally would, simply
And
by
that in
being,
itself is worth it.
yeah, well, absolutely, simply by being cognizant, and the fact that we're reporting to each other every morning in the Hangout group, the fact that I'm more aware of this endeavor is enough that I have a tendency to remember my dreams a lot more. Like you guys were talking about dream journals earlier, and that's absolutely a worthy endeavor to just keep a journal, not necessarily in digital form the way we're doing it in the Hangout, but to keep a paper journal, like Influence was saying, so you can go back 10, 20 years and look at what you were up to, and compare things, like especially if you have some precog and you go, I think I had a dream, you can go check. But
20 years later,
I just think the fact that we're doing this, the simple fact that I'm engaged in this activity, is enough that I'm now remembering my dreams more, which is a big hurdle to get over, because everybody knows, you have this amazing dream, you wake up, and as soon as you're awake, boop, it's gone, no memory.
Yeah. I heard a kitty go meow.
Yeah, my kitties.
That was Rufus this time, not Athena.
Yeah, that was.
She's
Uh,
actually snuggled up all happy on my lap right now.
No, we are about to eat some dinners.
All right. You guys have a good one.
Yes.
And,
No, and this will be, we'll touch back on this. I'd like to touch back on this just here and there. Like we'll keep working on
Absolutely.
it, and we'll keep coming back to this and updating. I think that's beneficial as well.
Ryan, if you're out there, hop in the hangout if you want. Say hi. And yeah, I just want to say night to everybody and all the nice folks.
Yeah, there's been a lot of nice people out there.
Yeah.
Night, everybody. Thanks
Night,
for coming.
everyone.
Good night, guys.
All right, you guys. Awesome.
And we'll keep up. We'll keep it in touch.
All
Peace
right.
out. Much love.
Peace out. See you guys.
Bye bye.